We have confirmed this afternoon by way of County Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky that investigators believe this fire was started accidentally by workers described as veteran Universal employees using heat tools to repair the New York City streetscape. As visitors are being allowed back into the park today, the first close-up images of the burn area are coming out. Portions of Universal's back lot now a shell of what they once were. What's left of Courthouse Square and the iconic clock tower of Back to the Future fame. The King Kong exhibit now destroyed. In all, 3.5 acres burned, 2 city blocks. Tonight, fire investigators believe the fire was started by Universal workers using heat tools to repair the New York City streetscape. Investigators now calling it accidental. A massive fire that sent acrid smoke billowing for 18 hours Sunday. 9 firefighters and a sheriff's deputy suffered minor injuries. Early questions about low water pressure during the firefight. Firefighters now say it appears the pressure problems were merely a result of the high demand, with 400 firefighters battling at once, pumping 18,000 gallons of water a minute on the flame.
More of the overwhelming demand than to any faulty system. So we simply augmented the water situation through a drafting operation, the pond along the back lot.
Flames also racing through the video vault building, destroying thousands of hours of entertainment, though no master copies were destroyed.
The material that was contained in those vaults were copies, were video, not film negatives. And no content, none of those shows or none of those movies were lost either to posterity or to the market.
As today, the gates to Universal Studios are again open after being closed all of Sunday. Many visitors turned away yesterday are back today.
I'm just glad it is open today so family can go in and have a good time.
All right, so that was Micah Ullman reporting now. Let's go live to that press conference. Is LA County Supervisor Zev.
It was nothing of the kind. It was unintentional. It was an accident. And for that, we are grateful, no question about that. Secondly, there will be issues that we will look at in the days ahead relating to the fire, the water pressure issues, which are first and foremost in my mind. The fire chief has established a fire flow assessment team, interdepartmental fire flow assessment team, to look at all aspects of how the water flow worked, the water pressure worked, what, if anything, went wrong. Was there an infrastructure, mechanical, or human error problem, or a combination of the three, or none of the above? That will be reported back to us on or before June the 13th, so just in less than 2 weeks. And we're looking forward to that. It has a lot of implications for this fire and other fires because we do have other studios in this region. I want to just say in conclusion of my remarks to thank the men and women of the Los Angeles County and City Fire Departments for their incredible and heroic efforts yesterday. It was a very difficult fire to fight, as I think all of you who watched it will concur. I'd ask that you hold all your questions until Chief Freeman has completed his remarks, and we will answer all the questions you have. Let me turn it over now to P. Michael Freeman, the County Fire Chief.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Ever since the fire began, there's been a lot of speculation about the cause of the fire, and there's been a very thorough and diligent investigation concluded, and we're here to give you the official conclusion on the cause of the Universal Studio fire. The fire broke out on Sunday, June the 1st at 4:43 a.m. It was reported at that time in the vicinity of what is known as Backdrop 7 on the Universal Studios back lot. This is near the intersection of New York and New Jersey streets on the back lot. 3 Universal Studio employees, that's 2 workers and a supervisor, were applying asphalt shingles to a roof on the building's facade. They were using a blowtorch, which is a common practice to heat the shingles so that the mastic on the back will adhere to the roof decking. They completed their work at approximately 3 a.m. They followed company protocol and policy to stand watch for 1 hour. Seeing no indication of fire, they took a break. And this was approximately 4 a.m. At 4:43, a security guard in the vicinity of the back lot and New York and New Jersey Street noticed the fire and immediately notified the fire department. This was at 4:44 a.m. At approximately the same time, the workers returned to the location and also witnessed the fire and confirmed with the security guard that the fire department had been notified. Our first unit arrived on scene 4 minutes later, immediately reported a large volume of fire and requested a second alarm. From that point onward, the request for additional personnel and equipment built up to more than 400 firefighters, and the response with which we are all familiar. The fire involved the backlot, the King Kong exhibit, the Courthouse Square area, New York and New Jersey streets, including the video library. There were 10 individuals that were injured, all minor injuries, but there were five firefighters from Los Angeles Fire Department, 4 firefighters from Los Angeles County Fire Department, and 1 member of the Sheriff Department who sustained various minor injuries. We have also, as the supervisor mentioned, formed a fire flow assessment team. This is an interdepartmental group of experts that will take a look at all aspects of the water that was available and that was utilized on the fire. They will also take a very careful look at the fire flow requirements given the involvement of fire on the facades and the backstage backdrop area of Universal Studios. When that report is concluded, at that time we will be able to make information available as to these questions of water and also the volume of fire. We must keep in mind that given the tremendous amount of fire, and if you can imagine a city block worth of fire on the initial arrival of the fire companies, that's a tremendous firefighting challenge. And we do know that at the height of the fire that more than 18,000 gallons of water per minute were being flowed at the scene of that fire, which is a considerable amount of water. So at this time, that concludes our prepared comments, and if you have questions, we'd certainly be glad to entertain those.
Was there enough water there back in the 1990 fire, apparently?
Given the amount of fire and the extent of the fire, we're trying to ascertain if there was sufficient water. As I said, that at the height of the fire, there was an excess of 18,000 gallons per minute flowing. The fire moved very quickly through the backdrop area and through the facades. There were times where firefighting water did not seem to be adequate, but in terms of the overall application of water and availability, that's the result that we're looking for with this fire flow assessment team.
That is L.A. County Fire Chief P. Michael Freeman describing the department's response and how that fire was dealt with. The question of its cause has been answered. The questions linger about the water pressure and the lack of volume that hindered the firefighting effort and how that will be addressed. If you'd like to hear more about
buildings. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes is live in Universal City with reaction to this devastating fire. Rob?
Ellen, it shouldn't be too hard for insurance types to come up with some kind of number for the damage caused by this fire. But there's also an emotional loss here. These sets and attractions that burned are part of filmmaking history, and though they can be replaced, film historians say they just won't be the same.
The flames at Universal Studios raged for hours Sunday morning, and as popular pieces of Hollywood history burned, one thought consumed film historian Mark Wanamaker.
It was deja vu all over again.
Wanamaker is the president of the Hollywood Heritage Organization and a former movie tour consultant for Universal Studios. He says this fire is extremely disappointing, but that the fire that ripped through Universal's backlot more than 15 years ago was the real heartbreaker from a film history perspective.
That 1990 fire, which was catastrophic, and many of the New York Street buildings were built in the 1920s for very famous classic films of the Universal's era.
Here's a promotional picture showing that New York Street set when it was rebuilt after the 1990 fire. Wanamaker says it has appeared in hundreds of films, TV shows, and commercials since then. The studio, he says, also boasted of a state-of-the-art fire suppression system that would keep New York Street from ever burning again. But this is what it looks like now, a charred pile of rubble.
All the studios have had catastrophic fires. All of them have either burnt completely down or their back lots completely down or something. So we've lost so much of film history.
Initially, Wanamaker's big concern was Universal's film vaults. They were untouched by the flames.
The studio's video vaults were damaged, though Universal officials say copies of the video library are available in other locations.
The video archive building is directly behind, or was directly behind, the King Kong.
America's oldest continually running film studio, scarred but still going. A chunk of film history lost, but armed with cameras, fans are already making this fire part of a new chapter in film history. Now, Wanamaker says the prize gem here that was not damaged, stage 28. It's also known as the 1925 Phantom of the Opera set. He said if that had burned, that would have been a tragic loss.